This is Ralph Zuranski, and I'm on the phone with Cameron Johnson. He's one of the heroes that I met at Joe Polish's carpet cleaning convention, where he taught carpet cleaners how to be incredibly successful. And Cameron was Mr. X. He was the secret speaker that Joe Polish brought in to impress all the individuals. How are you doing today, Cameron?
Doing great, Ralph. How are you?
Good. Could you tell everybody a little bit about you, because I'm sure not many people know about you?
Sure. Well, I started my first business when I was 9 years old. It was a printing company, printing greeting cards, stationery, things like that for friends, family, and relatives. And the company grew from there, and when I was 12 years old, I sold Beanie Babies over the Internet. And my company grew to become the number 2 Beanie Baby retailer on the Internet. And when I was 12, I made $50,000 selling Beanie Babies.
Wow.
When I was 15, I transitioned to an Internet company, and the company sold online advertising, and we grew to have close to 200,000 customers in 80 countries, and we were displaying about 15 million ads per day, which at the time was about $15,000 in daily revenue. And since then I've had several other companies, and I'm 22 years old now, and I've got a new book that's on the horizon coming out in January. And I've had 12 companies before I turned 21, and just recently turned 22.
Wow. What is the name of your book, and what is it about?
Well, the name of the book is called You Call the Shots, Succeed Your Way, and Live the Life You Want with the 19 Essential Secrets of Entrepreneurship. And what it does is it talks about all the different businesses that I've started and sold and run successfully over the past 12 years. And it kind of bottles it all up into a package that's unique because not only my age, but also just gives you insight into some of the different businesses that I was able to start being so young, and how I was able to do that while also managing or attempting to manage a normal high school life and to grow my businesses that way.
Wow, that is pretty amazing. Let me ask you some of the heroes questions, because I think it'll be an interesting perspective, because I haven't really interviewed anybody that is as young as you that has been so successful.
Okay, great.
What do you want out of life in 10 words or less?
Well, I think there's a number of different ways I could answer this, but most importantly, what I want out of life is I just want to leave the world a better place, and I want to motivate young people to do the best that they can do.
Mm-hmm. What is the dream or vision that sets the course of your life?
My dream is to remove all obstacles and become as successful as I can be, but along the way, helping plenty of other people find their dreams and goals, no matter what that is, whether it's in the business world or any other facet of life. But that's kind of my dream, and that's kind of what I'm focused on for my life.
Mm-hmm. How important is it to stay focused on your primary goal?
I think setting goals is the first step in being successful. And in order to reach those goals, you have to stay focused, and I think it's the most crucial aspect of succeeding in life, and setting one goal and reaching it, and then setting another goal. So I believe in short-term goals in addition to long-term goals, but the short-term ones are the ones that help you get through, and I think it's so crucial that you stay 100% focused all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you follow your hunches and intuition?
Yes, I'm probably one of the, you could say, guilty or one of the best people at following hunches and intuition, but when I believe in something, I totally act on it right away, and of course I go through and do the necessary research and due diligence, but I very much so act on my intuition.
What specific philosophy or philosophies guide your life and your decisions?
Well, I was always raised. I was raised by my parents, who are both entrepreneurs. My dad owns a Ford dealership back home in Roanoke, Virginia, that my great-grandfather started back in 1938, and my mother inherited a very successful business as well that she sold more than 20 years ago. But they both raised me on the principle that, you have to work for the things you want in life, and nothing's going to be handed to you. And that's what kind of motivated me to get started at such an early age, and to choose a career path that's different than the traditional path of graduating high school, going to college, going to work for a company, moving your way up 10 to 15 years down the road. So my philosophy has always been I create whatever it is I want, and I work for myself, and that's kind of what I've enjoyed so much, is the reward and or the instant reward and gratification of working for yourself and motivating yourself to do great things.
Well, what is your perspective on goodness, ethics, and moral behavior?
Well, I think being in the business world, especially after the Xerox's, Anderson Consulting, and the WorldComs of the world, I think that business ethics and business morals have never been more important than they are today. You know, they're now teaching them in schools, whereas 10 years ago they never even thought that they would ever have to teach these classes because they just assumed that people knew these things. But after the exploits of those companies, it's become such a hot topic, and I think business ethics are just the ability to run a successful business and to go home each night and sleep peacefully. And I've always said that, and I believe that's the cornerstone and the foundation for which, you know, successful businesses were built, were business ethics and strong morals.
Well, what place does the power of prayer have in your life?
Well, I am religious, and I think prayer is so important because there has to be, something of a higher power that we all look up to, and that helps guide us, you know, in the tough times, and it's very important to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, what principles are you willing to sacrifice your life for?
The principles that are most of interest to me are helping others. And right now with this new book I have coming out, I want to help young people, and I want to help parents in the education system and everything else of America just improve and become better. And financial literacy is something that's very, very much interest to me, and it's one of the founding principles of my book is teaching financial literacy in school systems, because they don't do that. They don't teach them in high schools. They don't teach financial literacy in college unless you're really in a business school or business classes. And I think that's so important because, you know, debt is at an all-time high across America, and the average college student graduates with more than $20,000 in just student loans, not to mention their credit card debt as well. So I think those are some hot topics that need to be discussed more and need to be shared, and that's one of the reasons I write this book.
Mm-hmm. Well, are your actions and goals consistent with your beliefs?
Yes, I like to think so, at least. I try to act on, I set my goals based on, you know, where I want to be and where I believe I should be, and I try to act accordingly to get there. So I totally believe that those two things are in line.
Mm-hmm. Is it valuable to have highly charged emotions about achieving your goals?
I think it's crucial. I get so excited and so fired up when I'm achieving my goals, and I think having, you know, so much energy and everything else just helps you move along and helps you push forward in the slow times or in the hard times. And I think, being able to motivate yourself is one of the, greatest abilities and one of the most crucial abilities for an entrepreneur to have. And I definitely feel that it's so valuable to have highly charged emotions.
Mm-hmm. Is it useful to take a positive view of setbacks, misfortunes, and mistakes?
Definitely. I've always tried to learn from my, mistakes, or learn as I've gone along, and each of my businesses has built on the previous business. So each business is a little bit bigger than the previous business, and that's just because I've learned as I've gone along. And, if you make a mistake, that's okay, but to make the same mistake twice, there's really no excuse for it. So I've always tried to learn from my mistakes and to always move forward. And a setback is just something that slows you down. It's not something that's supposed to turn you away or tell you to quit doing or quit following your dreams. So definitely.
Do you feel that optimism is valuable?
Of course. I think optimism is so valuable because you have to have a positive outlook, and you have to be able to be optimistic about what it is you want to accomplish. And if you can't be optimistic and be positive, then it's very difficult for you to, wake up each morning and get out of bed and go do whatever it is you're doing. You have to be able to be positive and be proud of what it is you're contributing.
Do you maintain a sense of humor in the face of serious problems?
Yes, I think humor can often fix serious problems. I think some serious problems aren't really that serious, and I think humor sometimes, brings those down to a ground level. And I use humor in the business world. I use humor when I give speeches and talks and do consulting, and totally believe in humor enlightening people's lives.
Mm-hmm. Do you take time out of your day to feed your subconscious positive thoughts about you, your goals, and your dreams?
I try to. I try to take time every day to forecast and look at my progress and just have positive thoughts. I like to just have some downtime every day. It's not possible but I'd like for it to be, and I try to make it so that every day I do have time to do those things. But sometimes with traveling and business and everything else in personal life and trying to be in 3 places at once, it can be difficult. But the downtime is probably the most enjoyable and relaxing because I'm able to reflect on whatever it is I'm working on to hopefully also help me push forward with new projects.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you have courage to pursue new ideas?
Yes, one of the things that I've always been able to do ever since I was basically 9 years old was to have the courage to, whether it's to start a new business or whether it's to, buy a lot of inventory. When I started the Beanie Baby business, it started because I took my sister's Beanie Baby collection, and she was 6 years younger than me, so she was about 6 years old at the time, and I sold it on eBay when eBay had just started, and I sold it for $1,000. I gave her $100, so I was happy to make $900. She was happy to make $100. But what it taught me was that I needed more Beanie Babies, so I went out and became a retailer for Beanie Baby manufacturers, and I basically took my life savings at the time, and which was several $1,000s, and I purchased several thousand Beanie Babies. But I had to have the courage to do that, and I think the courage in taking calculated risks is a lot better than just taking irresponsible risks. But I think they pay off in the long run, and being able to have the courage to do that has always rewarded me very well.
Mm-hmm. Were you willing to experience discomfort in the pursuit of your dream?
Sure. I think that no one appreciates or no one likes discomfort, but it's necessary and it happens to all of us, and there's really nothing we can do about it but to accept it and to deal with it and continue pursuing our dreams, whatever they may be. We have to understand that it's not going to be floating in the cloud. We're not going to be in cloud 9 all the time. We're floating in the clouds. So I think we have to be able to experience the discomfort and move on and deal with whatever problem or issue it is, and go from there.
Is it beneficial to make decisions quickly?
I think that can depend on the situation and also the decision that you're making. Depending on how large the decision is and what kind of results the decision might have, negative or positive, I think definitely I try to think through every decision. I like to think, before I make a decision, I like to think about the consequences, and so I think it can be beneficial to make decisions quickly, but I'd also say that I like to think through everything very thoroughly first as well, and I think that's very important.
Mm-hmm. Are you slow to revise or reverse an important decision?
Typically when I make a decision, I don't look back and I move on no matter what the decision is. I went to a boarding school in high school, and I left sophomore year. I came home at Christmas break, and I didn't want to go back because, actually, make a long story short, I met this girl, and I didn't want to go back to an all-boys school, and I just gotten my license. But my dad said, you're going back. I've, paid this amount of money for the tuition. And I said, okay. So I went back to school, and a week later I called him and said, Dad, I'll reimburse you the tuition. I don't want to stay here. And he said, okay, if you want to write me a check for $25,000, and this is when I was in 10th grade, then you can come home. And I said, okay, that's fine. And I paid my dad $25,000, which was a big decision at the time, but I never looked back. I never regretted it, and I never, of course, tried to reverse it. And I've made several decisions since then that when I make a decision, I just move on and accept it, and hopefully don't have to revise or reverse a decision. So I think it's important that, especially decisions like that we can't change, there's no use in fretting over them or second-guessing or anything of the sort. It's, we have to accept it and move on. So I would say that I really normally do not revise or reverse decisions like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, sounds like you make decisions very quickly and stick with them, but sounds like you could definitely have some doubts and fears.
Oftentimes we buy in an emotion and then we try to rationalize later with facts and reasoning. So, so that's exactly how.
Well, I'm sure you had some doubts and fears with some of the decisions that you've made and the different businesses that you were in. So how are you able to overcome your doubts and fears?
Well, I try to use the same principle that I just shared, and that's when I make a decision, don't really think about it and don't try and second guess it. When I was in college at Virginia Tech, I started an internet company called CertificateSwap.com, and I took my second semester off of college to go out and raise $10 million in venture capital. And we were subsequently offered $10 million in venture capital, but I actually turned the offer down, and we ended up selling the company instead. Now that offer, had we accepted it, we might have grown into a $100 million company, and it could have been one of the biggest or stupidest decisions I've ever made. But I still don't question the decision, and I moved on with it. And I still to this day think we made the right decision to sell the company. So I'm able to overcome doubts and fears just by accepting and, like we were talking about earlier, trusting my intuition.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's rare for most people to do that. A lot of people are afraid to trust their intuition.
Right.
Well, do you readily forgive those who upset, offend, and oppose you?
Yes, I try to be very good about forgiving people. I like to always think that I will remember things, and I might look at a person differently, but I always forgive them for whatever actions or words or anything else that they say or do to me. But I think it's important that we forgive, because we're all going to have bad days, we're all going to make mistakes. So I think we have to be able to be quick to forgive, but not necessarily quick to forget.
Yeah. Well, do you experience service to others as a source of joy?
Yes. I've always enjoyed giving back. I'm involved with several nonprofit organizations now and serve on the board, and try to give back and donate my time to high schools and other local events that I can try and help at. But I really do get a joy out of it. And, one would say that I lived a successful or very busy business life. How can you actually get such a joy out of, donating your time and doing things like that? But it's one of the most rewarding things I do is that I'm fortunate that I'm able to, be successful in business so that I can have the time and have the money to be able to give back. And I really appreciate that. My parents introduced me that when I was just 10 or 11 years old, and I started giving money to our local church. I really got satisfaction out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, when was the lowest point in your life, and how did you change your life path to one of victory over the obstacles you were facing at that time?
This question's kind of unique because I'm only 22 years old, and I've lived only a very small portion of my life, and I have yet to experience some of the many things that many people would cite as a low point in their life, whether it's family issues, wife, kids, whatever the case. Health, I've been very fortunate that my family's been very healthy, and I've been very healthy, and my siblings and my parents, and I pray that continues. But I really don't know what I could say is the lowest point. I've been very fortunate, so I'm glad I can answer that question that way, though.
Gee, that's really a blessing to be able to say that. There was one other hero I interviewed, Jeff Diedrich, that has sort of a charmed life and had a lot to do with his parents on how he is raised.
That's great.
Yeah, so I think that parents really do have a huge factor on what type of life their kids have.
I agree, 100%.
I guess, how important was it to believe your financial dreams would eventually become reality?
I think in order to, set a goal or set a dream, you have to actually understand that, this has to be a realistic goal. So I think it's almost crucial that we're able to, believe that we can make our dreams come true if we just take the necessary steps in achieving those goals and accomplishing them. So I think it's crucial. It's hard to set a goal or set a financial dream for yourself if you're not going to believe that it's has a chance at being real. So I think we need to set realistic goals, and then I'd say that's 100% valuable.
Mm-hmm. Why is it valuable to know exactly how much money you want to have in your bank account and when?
I think the first question to ask is, why do you want that amount? What is that amount of money going to do for you that you don't already have now? Is it going to buy you things that you don't have, or is it going to pay off debts and make you, more financially stable and make you happier that way? But, why is any amount of money going to make you, or why do you think any amount of money is going to make you happier than you are now? So I think that's kind of the first question to ask yourself. And then, when you can actually put, if you put a dollar amount on that, then I think you need to put a date on it too, and use that as a goal to try and be there by that certain time. But the first question I'd say is, why do I want this amount of money? Why do I think I'm going to be a happier person? Why do you think I'm going to be healthier or love my family more or anything else? Or my family's going to love me more? Why would you think that's going to happen just because you have a certain amount of money in the bank? Money doesn't buy happiness by any means. So I think that's an important question too.
Yeah, I think that is also. What is your definition of heroism?
I think a hero is someone that helps others and gives back, And I think that is, the most simple definition I can give you. And I know there's been so many heroes in my life that have served as mentors to me in the business world, and they've guided me along. And anytime I've ever asked anyone for advice, I've always, been greeted with open arms and have been able to get great advice. And, a lot of those people have turned into be my mentors, and I really, a lot of my success is thanks, to their credit. So I think that, those are the true heroes, those that give back more than they take from life. So I think that's the definition of a hero to me.
Did you ever create a secret hero in your mind that helped you deal with life's difficulties?
Well, fortunately, going back to the previous question, I've lived a very charmed life and have had very few difficulties other than, some arguments with my parents when I was growing up. But I always admired successful business leaders, and I would read business books, about the Donald Trumps, Michael Dells, Bill Gates, Richard Bransons of the world. And that kind of always helped me stay motivated because I, had my dreams or my goals set on being a successful business leader myself. So that kind of helped me along.
Well, who are the heroes in your life now?
Heroes in my life now are people that are very close to me. Of course, my dad is a hero to me, my mom, my family. But in the business world, it's very similar to what I grew up with. Michael Dell and several people in the technology industry serve as my heroes. So.
Well, how important is it to have trusted friends or a mastermind group to bounce your ideas off?
I think it's so important that you have trusted friends. First of all, if you have friends you can't trust, then you can't bounce an idea off of them. So you have to be able to trust your friends, and your friends also need to be able to trust you, though, likewise. But I think a mastermind group is so rewarding because it's not just rewarding to you to be, the center of that group, but it's rewarding to everyone that gets to participate. And I'm a participant in several mastermind groups, and I have one myself. And it is so rewarding to just bounce ideas off for each other and help all of us, move forward and be more successful. And I think it's probably one of the most important things you can do, and one of the most cost-effective is, to bounce an idea off of someone before you actually spend the money and write the check and go out and do it. So I think mastermind groups, are so rewarding and so valuable.
Well, how do they make a positive difference in your life?
I think they save you a lot of time. They save you a lot of time from trial and error. You can read books about things that have worked and things that haven't, and you can also ask people that have been in that exact same situation, and you can see, what decisions they made and whether they would agree that they were the right decision, the wrong decision, and you can use that advice to move forward and to hopefully make a better decision, in your life and to save time. Because we're only here for a certain amount of time, so we need to be as effective as we can be. And I think that's exactly how they can make a positive difference every day.
Well, who do you feel are the real heroes in our society today that aren't getting the recognition and the rewards that they deserve?
Well, when you just read me this question, I think one of the first things that just came to my mind is, Warren Buffett just gave $43 billion to charity. And, he made news for 3 days. And, he didn't do it because he wants his name on, the cover of every newspaper for, a certain amount of time or anything else. But he's clearly a hero in that every value that he created his entire life, almost every penny, has been given back to charities. And, with Bill Gates Foundation, a large portion of his donation went to Bill Gates Foundation. And that's exactly what Bill Gates' passions are now. He's already set a time frame for when he's leaving Microsoft and how he's going to be less involved, and he's going to be working with the charity full time because that's where he gets value and that's where he gets reward. And I think those are true heroes, those that give back in every way possible. Through the creation of these successful businesses that they've built, they're now able to give back to our entire nation and the world through their philanthropy, through their donations.
Well, why are heroes so important in the lives of young people?
I think that young people need someone to look up to. I was able to make a connection with, for some strange reason, I was able to make a connection with business leaders that were 40 and 50 years older than I was. But I think heroes, whether it's a neighbor, whether it's a parent, whether it's a local business leader or a sports star or athlete, I think they're so important because they give young people the drive and the ambition to say that, there's no reason why I can't do that also. There's no reason why I can't be a professional athlete. There's no reason why I can't be a business star. I think they're crucial to young people, and I think, if young people had more people to look up to, more positive influences, then they'd be that much more successful.
Mm-hmm. What are the things that parents can do that will help their children realize they too can be heroes and make a positive impact on the lives of others?
I think parents, our society has become so disconnected, parents and young people. And it's not that young people are just trying to be rebellious and not connected to their parents, although there is a time period when young people do that. I think it's just that there's this disconnect from the relationship, and it's because, whether, parents don't teach or don't talk to their kids about, what it is they do on a daily basis in their job. So then that means when, kids get to college and they have to choose a major, they really don't know anything about any industry, and they don't really know what they want to do. I read a statistic the other day that more than 70% of college graduates enter a field other than the one they graduated in, or they end up going back to school to major in a different field, which means they just spend more money on education, which is great. Education, I'm a huge fan of education and a great supporter in education, and believe that education is the key to success, but we have to look at these things from a younger age and an earlier standpoint, like they do in so many other countries that are getting so further ahead of us, because we have this reverse mentality of not being, not setting a goal earlier in life on what it is we want to do. And I think parents can be a huge influence on their children and on, their nieces and nephews and on society by being more involved in trying to help their kids find out what it is they want to do, and, get them involved in internship programs or sports or anything in high school and even earlier. And I think it really pays off in the long run.
Cameron, how do people become heroes?
Well, I think the only thing you need to do to be a hero is to help someone else. So if you can give back to anyone, then you're being a hero.
How does it feel to be recognized as an internet hero?
Well, I don't know that I would go that far, but it's an honor to get an email from one person, saying I've motivated them in business in any way or tried to help them find success, and I get probably 100 emails a month just like that, and that's motivation for me, and same time extremely rewarding and almost surreal and unbelievable. So I totally can't even put words to it.
Well, why do you think you were selected for this unique honor?
Well, I think that just through an interview and through talking and everything, I think there's so much value that can come out of just a conversation. And by sharing a conversation such as the one we're having right now, Ralph, with an unlimited number of people, that so much value is created for them and so much value is created for you and I right now by having this conversation, that I think it just creates value and gives back to society.
Mm-hmm. Well, how will being recognized as an internet hero change your life?
Well, hopefully it'll change the life of others and change the life of the people listening. But also, it changed my life just by thinking about the questions that we've talked about today.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that further discussion on these questions will not just help me, but help everyone that's listening.
Mm-hmm. Well, how are you making the world a better place?
Well, I'm trying my best. I've got a book coming out that I think it's not a book that I wrote to try and sell and become a best-selling author. That's really not one of my goals. But one of my goals is to help young people and to help parents and to help adults and to help everyone, business leaders, small business owners, make educated and smart business decisions. And I think that my book can help do that, and I think the book will definitely help change society in maybe a very small way, but a way. And also, the nonprofit organizations that I'm involved with and the speeches that I give and everything, I get so much reward from that. So that's definitely how I get so much satisfaction these days.
Well, do you have any good solutions to the problems facing society, especially racism, child and spousal abuse, and violence among young people?
I think that it's just a lack of positive influence and a lack of heroes in the country and in the world. Anytime we turn on I don't even enjoy watching the news anymore, because anytime you turn on the news, the only thing you see are, the number of shootings that occurred today, or car accidents, or anything else. And, it's almost impossible to find a good, heartwarming story. Or if you do, it's on page 12 of your newspaper. So, I feel like we're doing it to ourselves, and it's ridiculous. And it's disturbing, and I don't know how you change that. Because that's, we as a society only really get to see whatever it is the media brings out to us. And there are so many hundreds of thousands of positive stories that we never hear of, that we'd really rather hear about, because it motivates all of us to try and do things like that rather than try and go out and commit crimes. And I think that, that's part of our society and our country's at fault, but I don't know how we are supposed to go about changing it, but it needs to happen.
Yeah, well, hopefully the In Search of Heroes program will help that.
I think so.
Spreading good news. If you had 3 wishes for your life in the world that would instantly come true, what would they be?
This is kind of a tough question, because I could think on this for probably several weeks and still not come up with an answer that really hits me and that strikes me as special. But I want people to be happy, and that sounds like such a cliche or a beauty pageant answer, but I want people to be happy and to be able to help others and to get satisfaction out of that. So many people, and so many young people, are depressed, and they live these very difficult lives, and there's these huge pressures from their parents and from outside sources to make the best grades possible. And I think making good grades is very important. It helps you get into a good school or get a good job and everything like that. But when people go so far as to have to go on antidepressant medicine because they're so depressed because of their grades, or the high school I attended, there's a young guy that was a few years older than me. He was literally stressing out about his college applications, and he committed suicide. And that story will stay with me for the rest of my life, because there's really no reason to let things. Nothing's that bad. And one wish would just for people to be happy and to help everyone else. Number 2 would be to try and do whatever it is you want to do. And that sounds like a cliche also, but if you want to start a business, and find out what the first step is to starting a business. Whether it's an internet-based business and you need to come up with a name and register the domain name, or whether it's a brick-and-mortar business and you need to go sign the lease and move into your small, location. Every business should start small. And then third, I would say the most important, or a very strong wish I would have, would be for young people and families and adults and everyone just to have a stronger relationship with their family, because I think strong family relationships and connections really help give back.
Well, I really believe that's true.
Man, me too. It's really powerful.
Yeah. What do you think about the In Search of Heroes program and its impact on youth, parents, and business people?
Just imagine if every single person, in this great country or in the world that could hear all these interviews and what they would take away from them. The people that we can touch are really the people that are normally, seeking out help. They're the ones that actually have the ambition or the motivation to take the first step, though, and to actually go and find, positive influence, such as the In Search of Heroes program. But I think its impact on parents, youth, and business people is only positive. And I think that, anything that's positive is good. So I think positive cash flow is good. So I think positive impact is so powerful, and I think that I'm thankful that you spend so much time doing these interviews and creating this program, because there's so much value in it, and so many people can just learn so much from all the different people you've interviewed. Yeah,
well, that's true. Well, I appreciate you taking your valuable time, Cameron, to answer these questions, because I know it'll be inspirational, in particular to people that are somewhere around your age, either younger or older. But it's such a great example to see somebody like you that's so successful at an early age, and just understanding how important the key ideas that you talked about are.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Ralph. I hope a lot of people get enjoyment out of this, and a lot of people listen to it.
I'm sure they will. Well, thanks again.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Ralph.